Well, she wasn't a winning weekend by any means, unless you're a Flames fan on that Friday night to begin things off. But, friends, you know what? She was still a pretty dang good weekend. Of course, you saw some videos from the studio here this weekend, but you also saw a couple videos live from around the Scotiabank Saddledome as Patrick and I took in the Bakersfield Condors game today. I'll have more on that in a moment, but we got to recap a much larger weekend than that, and we'll do that in a matter of moments. Friends, this is Dolynny TV. Good evening. Welcome in to the Sunday night cap, I guess you could say. Sunday night. Oh, look at that. We're having a nightcap on Dolynny TV. I mean, some of you might be doing that while you're watching this video. So to that I say cheers, as I'll raise a glass of Pepsi or a cup of tea when I go upstairs before bed, but won't worry about that too much. But friends, of course, before we get to that, we have the housekeeping notes. I feel silly for doing this, but we're still not there yet. We're sitting about 94, 96 subscribers. Been bouncing around that mark all weekend long, away from 10,000. If you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't do it right now, right? Don't do it because I asked. Do it because you enjoy the content here on the channel and you want to see more coming from me over the course of the season. And of course, with that said, too, if you haven't already, go check out Patrick's channel, the Oilers Fanatic. It's linked in the comments section below. We have a pretty good feel. We've come to a pretty good understanding this weekend that we're pretty much at the point where everybody that's watching Patrick's video is watching my video and vice versa, which is fantastic because now we have finally something that I've looked forward to having in this space for me personally over this entire time I've done YouTube, right? Is back in 1819 when I first started up. One thing I noticed almost immediately is as soon as things started getting away from the Oilers in November, December, was I was almost in an echo chamber, right? It was I'm either right or wrong. There was no other opinion out there on YouTube necessarily honed in on the Oilers like I was to build off of, to think, to play off of, whatever you want to say. And that's the one thing that has become very apparent in my return after taking the year and a half off, now being able to discuss things with Patrick on a day-to-day basis, see him in person, and just joke about the same things we go through, joke about the things that irk us, and kind of just bounce off each other and see kind of where both our headspace is at, whether we win, whether we lose. That's the fantastic part of this, is I finally have somebody out there in the realm of what I'm doing on YouTube where, you know what, instead of being bitter enemies, instead of hating each other, instead of, oh, you're stealing my views, I'm stealing your views, instead of doing that, we instead have this great friendship where we can bounce anything off of, ask any question, and all that does is at the end of the day make the content better for everybody involved, not especially you, the viewers, who come in and, well, you make us what we are, right? And that's the best part of it. There's a reason I've switched up from kind of calling you back home to friends, right? Is end of the day, you guys take care of us better than we take care of you. That's all it comes down to in my mind. Is I like I said, I walked away for a year and a half away from this whole shebang, and I've come back to better results than I could have ever believed. And it's not like, it's something I've said for the past 2 weeks. It's not like the Oilers are any better this year than they were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They're doing all the same things they have for the past almost as long as I've been on YouTube, except for the 18-19 season where things were kind of off the rails, and thankfully I wasn't on YouTube for the 17-18 season. But you get where I'm going, right? Is simply put, for the Oilers, is it's not like they're doing anything different that really is kind of correlating to why so many of you are watching my videos, why so many of you are just interacting with everything and anything Edmonton Oilers this season. Obviously, I think the Western Conference Finals appearance makes a big difference in that, but what I think makes a big difference of that too is having multiple options for your Oilers coverage, right? When I first started in 18-19, it was me, the Edmonton Oilers, and then whoever else touched on the Oilers. There was nobody else really honed in on the Oilers as much as I built a brand around at that point. But now, coming into a space where I was the guy coming into the space, right? When I returned in September, Patrick had established himself very well here in the Oilers realm, and I am so grateful for it because, I don't know how many of you really take into account what I've gone through over the past 2 years now, almost 2 years. We're almost to March where I quit. But I've done a lot of self-evaluation, a lot of thoughts, a lot of okay, like you know what? And when I really started turning the corner on, hey, you know what? I'm coming back. Part of it was yes, I need something to do in my spare time over the winter. Part of it was too, I miss it, but a lot of it was simply, end of the day is the passion was there again, the excitement was there again, and I actually had a reason to be doing it. And that reason was, right, is I'm not doing this alone anymore. Right? I met Patrick in April and you know what? It seemed like, hey, you know what? I met him for 5 minutes. This guy is going to be solid and this guy that I can go to war with out there and do this whole thing with. And then obviously going to the home opener was amazing. Going to that game against the Ducks, despite the result, despite us being very typical Oilers fans and not being very impressed after the loss and the way it happened, is and now in this Bakersfield Condors game, is Patrick and I have gotten to know each other quite well, and I think it's just absolutely fantastic that I have somebody out there where it's no longer an echo chamber. That's I guess what I'm saying in the long run. Short of it is now this whole Edmonton Oilers sphere is I've got somebody to play off of, but also compete against. But it's all fun and games to kind of see basically how we push each other, how we build each other up, and all that. And that's where I wanted to start, right? Is I just wanted to start recapping the weekend, simply put, right there, with the fact that I am just so grateful that on a time that I chose to disappear from the scene, somebody chose to come into the scene, and B, they chose to actually decide to take a chance on, hey, let's make a friend out of this guy, right? Because I mean, you look at my kind of content back in 18, 19 through to 21, I would not say I was the most friendly guy. I tried to be approachable, but I don't think I was the best guy to try and be buddies with, I don't think. And that's on me, right? That's something I own and something I worked on over the past year and a half. And gratefully, Patrick took a chance on me, chatted back and forth. Last season, of course, as things built up towards meeting up at the April game there, is we chatted back and forth, and it was a great time to be an Oilers fan, so I think that made it a lot easier to go back and forth and, hey, you know what, this team's exciting, let's go. And then obviously everything that's kind of built up over the summer. And I told Patrick this weekend is like, you know what, like seeing what he was doing around free agency, that got me wanting to talk Patrick Kane. And when I don't know if you caught that Patrick Kane video in the summer. I mean, it's got 11,000 views, so I'm going to take that at least 50% of the people watching today's video caught that back in the summer. Not to sound high on myself, but it just mathematically makes sense based on YouTube, is the fact that that video came from the fact of, man, I want those numbers. I want to go out there and do that. I want to, and it's because Patrick was doing it, and I'm like, I want it. And right there, as soon as I did that Patrick Kane video, I knew I was coming back. But it was a matter of when I could come back, because there's a couple of back-end YouTube things I had to figure out to get the channel back up and running. Sorry, my mustache is all kinds of out of control for some reason now all of a sudden, but is what it is. Either way, right, I wanted to come back. I was coming back no matter what. We were starting this season, getting it going, and obviously the time on Clemhawks helped and all that, so that was kind of all that. But that's where I wanted to begin, is just how grateful I am to have somebody in the space like Patrick, and somebody that, hey, quite honestly, I can go to Oilers and Condors games with, right? It's, yeah, you can go with the same people all the time, but it was actually kind of nifty going to the Saddle Dome with somebody I've never gone to the Saddle Dome with, that kind of gets the same mind space that I'm in when I'm at the Saddle Dome, despite no matter who I'm watching. So let's actually recap this weekend. All right, that's a long tangent, 9.5 minutes that you didn't really need to know. Just me being very grateful for kind of the life that's fallen into my lap over the past year and a half. Trust me, you're going to hear me being very grateful for everything that's happened come June, July, if everything lines up the way I said it should earlier in the video last year. Anyway, friends, as we get to it, it was a great I don't know at what liberty I am to speak to this just based on company obligations and company policies, but it was a great night out with the team on Friday night. We went to the Islanders and Flames game, and to nobody's shock, because you're all Oilers fans, that's the only game I watched a team win this weekend, whether it be on TV or live. So That's rough. I mean, they didn't even have the Toronto Maple Leafs Detroit Red Wings game on at the bar when we went Saturday night, but it is what it is. So either way, right? Friday night was fantastic. If you followed Twitter or anything, you've seen that I kind of made a whole fuss about the Saddle Dome falling down out there, and Oilers Nation had a heyday with it, and it's a whole fantastic, awesome thing. And I've just given the Oilers Nation a new nickname for the Saddle Dome. So yay, Dolynny TV out there impacting the social media landscapes. Look at me, hip with them kids, right? That's kind of the. Ay, ay, ay. Anyway, so that was Friday night. That's about where I want to leave it. Saturday, nice easy day, right? I got 2 videos out here before leaving home. Went out to Crossfield, had lunch with a good buddy that I play ball with. Kind of catching up after not hanging out at all during Christmas, New Year's, and kind of obviously the New World Juniors kind of threw a wrench into that. And then there was a couple other things I did over New Year's that didn't involve him, but that's fine. Then we went down to, well, I went down, picked up Patrick from his hotel in Calgary, went out for dinner at one of my favorite places, a place I went for a work Christmas party back in 2018. If you ever need a pasta recommendation in Calgary, Toscana on McLeod Trail in the southeast, go. I'm not going to tell you anymore. Go. Absolutely fantastic place. And order the fungi de Bosco with the chicken every time, because it just doesn't get better than that. Ain't nobody going to convince me anything else on that menu is better than that plate of chicken and spaghetti perdomo. So that's where I was at. Dinner was good. Great to just chat and just kind of have almost a business meeting. That was perhaps the first ever YouTube kind of business meeting I've had as a guy of my scale. I've had a couple YouTube lunches with maybe a guy I used to work with that you might follow in the vinyl community if you watch anything about vinyl on YouTube. But anyway, it was just nifty as 2 guys making something of YouTube on the Oilers was just going out for dinner, chatting all about, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What about this? What about that? And just kind of catching up on the stories in between every time we see each other. It was quite nifty. That was fantastic. And then obviously, right, Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Well, we're going to the bar to watch the game. I don't care that I don't drink. I love going to the bar because it's a fantastic time all the time. The atmosphere is always good if you choose the right bar. You have random people coming up to you doing random things. We'll talk about that in a second. But it was one of those great moments, right? It's like, hey, it's Saturday night, out on the town, 2 Oilers guys in southern Alberta. Let's pick a random bar and go. Well, I wasn't picking a random bar. All right, if you know anything about Airdrie, there's really one legit bar to go to for a Saturday night out on the town. Here's the thing. I don't think you guys would take me and Patrick for the kind of guys that go tear up the dance floor after 10 o'clock. And unfortunately, the Oilers game ran past 10 o'clock, so we didn't go tear up the dance floor at Main Street Beer and Barbecue down in downtown Airdrie. Again, I'm giving out shout outs to these businesses because I believe in these places I go. And just hanging out at Main Street for the first period. Well, we actually got there about 7 o'clock, so we had time to kill. And I guess it's a much more important basketball game between the Dallas Mavericks and New Orleans Pelicans, right? I love these places. I'm just criticizing the sports choice on a Saturday night. Detroit and Toronto are playing, and you've got New Orleans and Dallas playing basketball at a bar on a Saturday night in Canada. Tough look, my friends. Tough look. But hey, you know what? I asked enough times. They put the Oilers game on. Yep. You got to remember, we're in enemy territory down here. So you do have to be assertive in asking. You are putting the game on, right? Like, I don't care that we're in Calgary. It's Saturday night, late game, Alberta team, let's go. And they did. Fantastic, right? There was no question. I think we missed about 35 seconds or so. The lineups were still on the screen, so we didn't miss much. And obviously, too, it does take time to change channels. I'm not blaming the bar here at all. So we watched the first and second period. Third period's getting underway, and this lady named Tammy comes up to us, and she introduces herself. Sweet lady, nice. Just had some questions to ask for her friends at her table who were having an odd night at the bar the other night out. And anyway, she's asking us all about, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? There's obviously some questions I could answer that Patrick couldn't, which, right, that's just, hey, situations are situations. And she's asking me, and I'm like, well, you see, don't know how much you know about me, which is nothing, but I have no answers for you. She was asking me, basically, as a single guy at the bar, and you're eyeing up a girl at the bar, and this is maybe not pertaining to Dolynny TV topics, and I shouldn't be talking about it, but we're going to talk about it because I'm recapping the weekend. She's asking me, okay, if you're eyeing up a girl at a table with other girls, would you just send the table a drink or just that girl a drink? And I'm like, well, you see here, as somebody who really has never been in that situation, right? I'm not a huge drinker. Even when I was drinking, that was in a different time in the world, and I necessarily couldn't do that. But yeah, she's like, have you ever done that? And I'm like, no, no, I haven't. Even in my college days, in case you don't know much about Dolynny TV and Tyson here, I quit drinking from 18 all the way to about 21. So, right, all my bar star days kind of deal would come to an end in that situation because I didn't drink and I hated the bar scene at that point. So, it wasn't like I was out there, and I did have a long-term committed relationship with a girl from like grade 11 all the way. So, what, like, I think it six-ish years at that point. So into my early-ish mid 20s. So it's not like I had to worry about that, right? That's not something I had to necessarily think about. And then so obviously the world returns to normal a little bit there last year. And well, okay, cool. So right, is this the first real past 6 months that maybe I've been able to do that? And you know how many times I've been to the bar with looking to dance with some ladies since what would that be, June? That would be none because I was out there playing ball and working rodeos. So Tammy's out there asking me a whole bunch of questions that I just quite simply did not have answers for. And I felt bad because I mean, Tammy went out on a limb. Two nice Oilers fans who were staring at the TVs all night. We're not there for the ladies. She's asking me there, well, okay, all these questions, and then she wanders back to her table, thanks us. And here's the thing. There's a twist to this story. The bar shuts off the game midway through the third period because it's time to club, right? That's the best part about Main Street in Airdrie is it's a sports bar kind of deal. It's not really a pub. It's a happening place on a Friday and Saturday night. If you've never been to Main Street in Airdrie, you're missing out. I'm telling you. I did go dancing there in March and I think in April last year, but haven't been since June. That's pertaining to the story. Anyway, so as we figure all that out, it's game's over. But there's 10, 12, 15 minutes left in the game, so we got to figure it out. So we pack up our stuff, we get the jackets on, and Tammy's all disappointed that we're leaving. I'm like, sorry, Tammy, gotta go. So like I said, right, I'm telling you the story. Patrick and I aren't tearing up the dance floor because there's a hockey game on, right? 10 o'clock comes and we have to go watch the hockey game somewhere else. So we head on down to Bogey's. If you don't know Bogey's Sports Bar and Pub, I don't know what the full tagline. Bogey's Pub over on 8th Street in Airdrie. Fantastic little place. Reminds me so much of back in the day, kind of the bar my grandparents had at the hotel, the Grand Center Hotel back up there in Grand Center Cold Lake, whatever you remember it being back in the day. But it just reminds me so much of that, and it's just kind of the same kind of crowd, same kind of atmosphere. It's fantastic, and I really appreciate that place. And obviously too, it's just really fun to go somewhere that I don't know if vintage is the right word, but it feels vintage to me. And I mean, 26, I shouldn't know what a vintage bar feels like, but you live the life I have, there's a little bit more to it. And I think anyone that knows me well enough that's watching this video and has listened this long would understand. So there's that, right? Go to Bogey's, pull up a bar stool, and I mean, I have not pulled up a bar stool. I don't know how long. It's been a long while since I last pulled up a bar stool. And I'm not talking like since 2019 or 2018. I'm talking at best 2016, if not when I turned 18 in 2014 and pulled up a bar stool for the last time at the Grand Center Hotel. My first drink with my buddy back then when he turned 18 a day after I did. But right, that's how often I pull up a bar stool. I'm much more of a sit at the table. I guess actually that's a lie. I do pull up a bar stool with one of my buddies here in town, but it felt unnatural, I guess what I'm trying to say, when I pulled up the bar stool and me and Patrick are out on the town having a good night trying to find the game. Game's right in front of us. Bartender, to his credit, he sees us walk in the Oilers gear, right? I've got the old Oilers shirt underneath. Patrick's got his hat and his shirt open, and I was like, oh, this guy knows exactly what we're here for. And he's, oh, they're playing. Oh yeah, they're playing. And you know what the Southern Alberta term for the Oilers is? Add a C to the start. I don't even want to say it because it's just BS that the Flames think they can pull that stuff on us. But Flames fans, you do you. They start them young. I've got another story for you here. Um, uh, anyway, the bartender's chirping us a little bit, and the best part about it is if you ever go to Bogey's, sit on the VLT side of the bar, and if you sit at the bar on the VLT side of the bar, and there will be a little sign just above one of the things next to the cooler that says rules at this bar. Number one, the bartender is always right, right? It's one of those gag signs, but rule number two, if the bartender is wrong, see rule number one. And I'm like, see, this guy's literally foolproof. He's sitting here razzing us, and he's got the foolproof sign that he can point to on the wall, and that's fantastic. He's saying, well, the Oilers need a goalie, and he's not even giving Stuart Skinner any credit or anything. I'm like, okay, I tried arguing with him a little bit, and I'm like, this is not a winning argument. And I appreciated this. All right, I'm not upset about this. I appreciated the heck out of this because this was a genuine interaction between Oilers and Flames fans in Southern Alberta on a Saturday night where the Flames weren't playing. It was fantastic. I loved every second of it. We watched the game. Course, you know what it was. The Oilers go into overtime after blowing a 2-goal lead, lose on a Cale Makar goal. King Cale, it's what he does. It's just what he does. And hey, that's my boy, right? Cale Makar is my claim to fame in my broadcasting career, where I got to interview him multiple times in 2016 before he was selected in the 2017 draft. So, hey, I'm not going to mind a Cale Makar overtime goal. Remember what happened last year when we lost the last two games, or first two games of the season series against the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, with the current way this team's going, would you not mind being swept by the Colorado Avalanche in the third round after beating the Calgary Flames in the second round? I think all of us would agree that would be absolutely fantastic. So that's great. So now, okay, right, move on, get Patrick back to the hotel. Obviously, because I drove him from the hotel, he had to get back somehow. So driving back into Calgary, I drive out home here, out in the woods, and then basically, cool. 9 a.m. came quickly. All right, I got home, I went to bed. It was about 1:30. 9 a.m. came quick, and then it's about 9:30. So get on the road back to Calgary as we get ready for this Bakersfield Condors game. And, well, you know what? Get to the train station. Patrick checks out of the hotel, meets me there. And we get on the train. And, Lord love him, you'd think the train schedule would be modified for a professional hockey team in Calgary. But that's just how few people actually get involved within this whole Wranglers ordeal they got at the AHL level in Calgary right now. Is trains don't get modified for them. Trains get modified for the Flames, not them. Not as of yet. However, right, we get down to downtown, get off at City Hall, transfer to Victoria Park Station there to get across the Stampede grounds. We meet the Jumbotron engineer for the Calgary Wranglers. Nice young guy that, well, has a bright future ahead of him by the sounds of it. He's pretty excited to be in the role he's in, and he's got some tough competition if he wants to move up from the AHL. I hear there's a pretty big veteran that's doing the job up there at the NHL level for the Flames, but hey, you know what, nonetheless, it's exciting, and best part about it is he's on a 1-year deal, and you know what they say about expiring UFAs, you either trade them for assets or you keep them around and let them keep growing, and I think that's one of the pieces of the puzzle the Wranglers and the Flames would probably like to keep in the fold just based on a 10-minute conversation on the train. Nice young guy. Anyway, then we get into the Saddle Dome. Obviously everything's locked up on the inside because it's not quite 12 o'clock. Check out the team store. Try to go down and check out Dutton's, but Dutton's wasn't open. If you don't know about Dutton's, I'll leave that legend for you to figure out on your own because I was locked out, so I couldn't figure it out for myself. And it's not a place I want to go during a Flames game because it just sounds like mass chaos down there in the basement. And like I said, bar scene's not my thing. I'll take my picks wherever I can get them, and it is what it is. So we get into the Bakersfield Condors game there at the Saddle Dome, and get down early. I will refer you to Twitter. It would take me way too long to sort through the photos, way too long to try and get them all mishmashed in here. I just simply don't have the time on a Sunday night where I work tomorrow at 8 a.m. But got a ton of photos up close and personal with the bench, players right on the ice, right close to the bench. Fantastic opportunity to sit, 3 rows off of the glass, off the bench. Craziness, absolutely craziness, in my opinion, that you can get those kind of seats to any professional sport for $24. I don't care that it's minor pro, it is absolutely unreal that Patrick and I were able to secure those seats for $24 a piece on a Sunday at 1 p.m. But right, great day. And obviously, too, what I was really grateful for is, you know what, like, we joked about it, Patrick and I, while we were sitting at the game in the pregame as kids are filling into the stands around us. Like, okay, so part of me feels bad that two dudes that do YouTube are down here in these seats where this is seats where kids really should be making memories, right? That's what these are for, those kind of seats and core memories for the kids. And if you know anything about Dolynny TV, if you know anything about me, Tyson, personally, I am all about making the best day for the kids because something I've done. I've been a summer camp counselor for years. I've done a ton of other stuff that just I don't have the time to explain, but anytime I can try and make a kid's day, a kid's experience better, I always try to do that. And so I'm sitting there feeling a little guilty. I'm joking with Patrick about it. And then he's like, well, but it's also kind of our jobs to be down here. And I'm like, yeah, like, I mean, it's Sunday, but here I am at work. And hey, end of the day, what am I doing, right? I'm telling a story of my experience, which technically means I was there for work because this is how this all translates out to. You watched an ad on this video, you understand. But Patrick, love him because he's got the good old jokes. He's like, yeah, my boss is kind of a you-know-what. And I'm like, hey, yeah, mine too. Here we are, two dudes on a Sunday afternoon game at the Scotiabank Saddledome watching AHL hockey just to tell stories to you on YouTube. That's pretty much it. But right, so we're joking about being in the seats and we're taking all the photos and it's all fantastic. And so the game obviously is what it is. The Condors lose 2-1, another one-goal game on a weekend where the only team I watched win by multiple goals was a Flames team that beat the Islanders on a back half of back-to-back after the Oilers beat them by multiple goals. Tough, but either way, it's a good time. And you know what? It was one of those. It was a sleepy Saturday afternoon game. I think Patrick and I both, after the game, said there wasn't really much out of that Condors game where it's like, ooh, wow, that, like, we got denied so badly there that cost us the game. So it's like we still put up shots. Do we deserve to win that one? Probably. But again, when you're missing your top guys within the lineup like Tyler Benson, Jason Demers, and certain guys around the roster that kind of complete this roster down there in the AHL, yeah, you know what? There's a couple difference makers off the ice, similar to having Kane off the ice for the Oilers, which today I learned. I did not remember that Evander Kane is almost a point per game player this season. Yeah, no doubt we miss him. You look at what Nugent Hopkins and Hyman are doing, and you say what you could do with another one of those guys in that mix, we probably win some more hockey games. I mean, the best defense is a good offense, am I right? I am right. I know half an hour into a video, I am right. Who's watching this? Anyone that's watching that, you can argue that, but it's fine and dandy. Anyway, so we exit the game. Obviously, sucks that we lost, is what it is, but we head out to the train station there, and like I was saying, the train schedule, you think they'd accommodate. Train going southbound, right there on time when we walk out. Train going northbound, non-existent for 10 minutes on a Sunday afternoon. But again, Sunday service. I'm just joking really when I say the trains don't accommodate because it's Sunday afternoon. What are you supposed to do? It's Sunday afternoon service in Calgary. It's the same thing in Edmonton. I'm just messing with them. But yeah, so say goodbye to Patrick at the train station, come home and watch an episode of Heartland on the TV, right? Bing, bang, boom. Jack's okay. Jack's out of the hospital. We're all good. Oops, spoilers. Sorry, my apologies. But hey, you need that good news in your life. But that's where we're sitting tonight, friends, is a really good weekend, despite two very bad losses to have to endure. And the reason I say they're bad losses to endure is because Patrick and I almost have to shake on a new deal here where we just do not watch anything Oilers related in the city or outskirts of Calgary because as it currently stands, we are 0 for 2 on games watched in Calgary in the outskirts. So we'll put a pin on it and we'll go up to Edmonton I will, and I'll meet Patrick up there for the next game at Rogers Place. All right, mark my words. Unless something about the Condors in February, but I've kind of got that one pinned for a good buddy and his son. Like I said, trying to make memories for the kids. Well, I like to try and do that one up because I think going out to a Condors game in February, especially when I need to get out and see somebody else have a real good time. Obviously, if you know anything about me as well, I've kind of leaned on that heavily. What I've told you before in this video to tell the story tonight is simply put, February is a tough month for me every year. So we're going to try and change that this year, and that's going to be part of that recipe. Anyways, friends, I've kept you for over 30 minutes tonight. I was planning on being in bed about 2 hours ago. Instead, watched, like I said, Heartland and then 1923, and here we are. It's 9 o'clock, and I'm uploading a YouTube video to tell you how my weekend went. Is what it is. All right, thanks for being along for the ride, friends. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Hope you enjoyed. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll get back to reality. I think we play the LA Kings tomorrow. I quite honestly couldn't tell you. I'm going to have to get some sleep in me, take a look on my first break at work on Monday, and then we'll get back into the regular routine of things. Hopefully with some wins on a California and Nevada road trip. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm up on. Oh dear.